Morning, Rob.
What's going on?
Oh, sun's shining, I guess, that's something.
Oh, it is something these days, that's for sure.
Order to run.
Hi, Tom.
So I saw this stuff from Charlotte and Heinsberg and Barry.
Yes, I think we have 7 total now.
Very shitty, that is.
Oh, that's right, let's be clear.
Yeah, let's,
Oh, it drives me nuts because the Times Argus, Barry City is Barry, and then there's Barry Town, the second-class citizens. That pisses me off, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
That's something like Essex Junction and Essex.
Good morning, all.
hi, Tom.
Morning, Tom.
Morning.
Let me get. So, Eric, are you there?
I am, yes.
Could you do a share screen and post the minutes from the October 25 meeting?
Let me pull those up and I can absolutely do that.
I don't think I got a chance to look at those. And I don't know who else did. We may want to defer action on them, but let's take a quick look.
Right, that's up. Right, is that visible?
It is on my, yes.
I just got to the end, they look good to me.
Okay, Eric, please scroll up one more, or down, like up or down. There we go. Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's save that until the end. And in the meantime, people may have a chance to take another look at it, and we'll just remind me that we haven't done that yet. I think we can convene. I heard from Jean and Ed that they were unable to join us. And I think we can go back to full screen, Eric. Great. They had other obligations that they couldn't resolve in favor of this one. So, and Jeremy, I recall you said you weren't going to be able to be here for the entire time. Is that right?
That's right. I have to be done at 9, at 10 rather.
Okay. But do we have?
We do have a quorum, Tom.
Okay, just see. Tom. And I don't see Mary, but I don't think I heard from Mary. Okay. Well, let's roll. We'll call the meeting to order. We're going to defer on the minutes for at least a while. That brings us to public comment under section 318H of Title 1. Does anyone wish to address the board under the public comment agenda item? Okay, and I don't see any. So we can move to the next item, which is review and discuss initial responses and questions from boards of civil authority to the tentative House districts map. Eric, I sent you a note a few minutes ago. Did you see that?
I have not yet. Let me pull it up.
Well, you sent before the meeting started. You sent. Okay.
Yes, I did resend the attachment.
Okay, because I hadn't. So, of the formal official responses we've received, Eric has sent around a PDF file with Stratton, Berry City, Stamford, Charlotte, Hyde Park, Springfield, Williamstown. In addition to that, I have been in some degree of dialogue, one way or the other, with people from Brattleboro, Middlebury, and Shelburne. And some of you may have been hearing from folks in your localities. Some of these were questions about how to respond and about how questions about what we had sent to them, and not fully grasping what some of that stuff was or how to access and use it. I have noticed, at least in one instance, or maybe two, the confusion about what our materials in one place or another use a 10% deviation number. And I have so far seen that, I think, misinterpreted or misunderstood in two different ways. One is that was seen to mean that any deviation up to a 10 minus or positive was constitutional, which would mean that a 20% overall deviation is constitutional. Therefore, any existing district deviation of under 10% is presumptively constitutional, and that isn't what that U.S. Supreme Court decision says, which says an overall deviation rather of 10% is presumptively constitutional. Another variation on that is that any existing district deviation under 10% is okay, so it doesn't need to be looked at all. And I've responded to one of those by saying that the Apportionment Board and the legislature have to look at the entire state, and any deviation in the 9+% range between 9 and 10, for example, is problematic because how it might be matched up with a deviation at the other end of the population spectrum in some other district. I haven't had a chance. I looked quickly at what Stamford and Springfield and Berry cities sent, and Charlotte. Those are about what, based upon what we got 10 years ago, those are not unexpected, I guess. Eric or Chris, what have you been getting less formally from boards of civil authority? Have you been getting questions and inquiries?
More so, Tom, I've been getting inquiries from clerks typically, maybe a little bit from individual BCA members about getting more detail on the maps. Another question about conflict of interest. But not a heck of a lot in the last week compared to the previous week. We're just now starting to see the formal stuff trickle in. We did have that interesting question from the Northeast Kingdom, the unorganized towns and gores question. And then we also had one inquiry about a joint meeting of BCAs from the Norwich area, and who would preside over that. Eric, do you have anything to add?
They've died down a lot, and instead, like Chris was saying, we've just seen feedback being submitted via the BCA forums. The only one that I would point out, in addition to the ones you did, Chris, was one from Callis that was looking to try to do some historical research on how many House members they and all towns had until 1964. So I don't know if that means that they're looking to advocate for a member for just their town, but they were looking for some historical info.
Yeah. Eric, in that regard, and if you're not aware of it, or if you are, it's worth sharing for everyone. Sometimes this comes in handy. The website for the Vermont House of Representatives clerk, the clerk of the House, has a page on it where you can look up by town who has represented that town in the House currently and going back to the late 18th century.
Okay.
And you can use that to see, since 1964, whether anyone from that town was the House member for the district in which the town is located. And maybe that's what maybe that would help Callis. I don't know.
Certainly a good piece of info to provide to them. I wasn't aware of that, and I'll pass that along.
Okay. we're getting, that volume will start to accelerate or increase significantly. As the boards of civil authority get cranked up and hold their meetings. Chris, could you say a little bit more about the level of detail in the map that you're having questions about, and were you able to give responses that seemed to satisfy those concerns?
Sure, that was, this one specifically was Donnakinville and South Burlington. The way that the map was constructed, the individual PDFs had street level census data on 2 of the districts or 3 of the districts and not the other 3. I'm trying to recall exactly. But we were able to go back to legislative IT to reproduce the other 3 maps with district level data. I'm not sure why it wasn't on there. And I think we've had a few other inquiries, maybe Springfield, Bennington, who are looking for that district level data, which is available on the map tool that VCGI put together for us, but it's not always available on the individual PDFs. So if any town out there, I would say, especially the cities with multiple districts within the city, wants that individual detail on the detailed PDF, the individual PDFs from the Maptitude map, they can request that from us and we can produce that for them. We didn't do it for the whole state because that's pretty laborious, but if anybody wants that, we can actually get that produced within a couple of days.
Okay. So
So South Burlington has what it needs, Tom, and Donna was very happy that we could do that for her.
I don't play an official role with the Burlington and the BCA, but I'm almost certain that they would like that.
I'll see, Robert, if that, I'm not sure if that's already available on the Burlington ones, but I'll take a look. And if it's not, we can produce that.
So we've got the boards have 2 weeks from today in which to get that work to us, their commentary and suggestions. Does the form that is being used to report to us seem to be working for them and for us, Chris or Eric?
Yeah, I think so, Tom. You'll see in the document that Eric sent out, it comes up fairly nicely town by town. I think gives all the information that we need. And, you know, to the extent that the towns put a lot of detail into it, we get a lot of detail, or if they put in a one-liner, that's what we get. But it fairly clearly separates those things, and we can generate a real quick report that does one town per page on a PDF that's, I think, pretty easy to read. But if the board has any feedback on that, on how we might better present it or improve it, we'd be glad to hear that too.
Okay.
I think one question I had for the board as you continue to meet, and I will continue to provide this report, is, you know, we could retain right now, they're being pulled out chronologically. We get the data down in an Excel document. I'm able to do the mail merge into the document you're seeing now, essentially. And they're coming in chronologically to how they are filled out, which would probably be easiest for you all. Every time you get a new report, the new ones will just be at the back. Conversely, I could have them organized alphabetically. You might want to wait until the end of like the final report for all of them, and then they're alphabetically, and you can go through and say, hey, wasn't it this town that said this specific thing? But however you want it organized, just let me know, and I'm happy to do that.
Well, the individual reports state the date that their Board of Civil Authority met.
Mhm.
It doesn't state the date the report was submitted, but it's presumably within a few days of the meeting of the Board of Civil Authority.
Yes, and I do have that, the time that it's submitted down to the millisecond, or no, down to the second, actually. So I could include that on the form or just have it sorted by that value.
I'm thinking that having them stored in alphabetical order would make it easier for us now, and when we're doing working on the final report narrative, to be able to find them. And if it became important to know when it was submitted, we could figure that out by looking at the date of the BCA meeting. That would be close enough.
Sure, I'm more than happy to.
But having said that, knowing, I mean, if you send, if both information is in there, then we could scroll through the alphabetical listing and see which ones are new. Does anyone else have a contrary view of what would be convenient? Okay. Not seeing.
And the other question that we have on that, Tom, is would you like us to post that that document with all of the feedback onto the website?
Yeah, I think for transparency purposes, yes.
Okay.
It'll make the website a little busier, but I think people will be looking for it.
I'm gonna propose we take off the phone numbers from that. Just in the case that some folks who may have been like BCA chairs instead of town clerks may have put their personal number. I don't know if that seems acceptable. I guess I can't propose things. I'm not a member of the board, but I'll put that up for consideration.
You can suggest. You can urge. You can. So like for me, yeah, for Berry City, we have the Board of Civil Authority chair, town clerk in Stamford, Charlotte, Hyde Park, Springfield. Yeah, and if someone from the public wants to contact the Board of Civil Authority, the email addresses are there. That's probably fine. If you're seeing no objection, let's do it that way.
Okay. Sounds great.
While we're still on the House district map, Jeremy and Rob, have you been making any further tweaks to your map, or are you're just waiting to see what the Board of Civil Authority responses are? Just curious.
I haven't done anything. I think sort of as you press down on one part of the web, it affects so many other parts. So if we if we have a bunch of feedback that we can take all at once holistically, I think that's got to be the way to do it, because something that we might do to satisfy one board is very likely to dissatisfy another. I mean, we had like a third of the responses so far said this is good, keep going. And so we wouldn't want to make one board happy and then
Right.
and then have another town that was like, no, this is good, and then have them get split or something like that.
Right. Makes sense.
But there are a couple instances where we could make a change now, like the Heinsberg Charlotte question that came up. I mean, Jeremy and I brought this up when we presented the map, saying that those two towns could theoretically both be single member districts, but it's kind of pushing the boundaries of population, particularly in the smaller town, which I think is Charlotte. I just got a mental block on that. But is that something that we think we could just give them a thumbs up on or a thumbs down on?
I tend to think we don't give any thumbs one way or the other until I agree with Jeremy, looking at the whole map, even if in that case, I can concede that it's would appear to be fully contained to those districts. And looking at what's the district number for those are the 4-1 and 4-2. Yeah, Charlotte's currently a minus 7.4. That sound right, Rob?
I thought it was a little higher than that, but if that's right, then
I'm just
Good.
looking from the VCGI House District data. And then the Heinsberg is a plus 8.2.
I thought Charlotte was closer to 10 than it was to 8 or below 8. But my memory is probably faulty.
I know what mine is.
If that's the case, if they're under 8, then I don't have a problem with it. In fact, I would encourage it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let me double check that. I was just reading from the VCGI posted figures, and I'll double check that and loop back to everybody. I think that would take us on our agenda to the work that's being done on the Senate map, which I'm happy to see has been, people are busy on that score. Thanks, Jeremy, for getting something out to us. Either was it late last night or early this morning. And Jeannie has likewise got a proposal. Is anyone else working on a Senate map or a portion of a Senate map?
Well, we got 3 in circulation already. I think that's probably enough.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know, Chris or Eric, if you saw and Mia, I made a note in some message over the last 3 or 4 days that Jean and I are going to take a look at the conversion of essentially the 2013 Apportionment Board Senate proposal from district builder into maptitude, that were Jean in particular thought that there was something that didn't reconcile with her work on her Senate map, but I don't think she's had a chance to get back into it to take a look at that. I think it might well be in that border area in and around Burlington and Winooski and Colchester and Essex. Was a little, I recall, a little tricky to do.
We'll stand by for that, Tom.
In terms of coming to a final apportionment board consensus and vote on the Senate districts, what is your recommendation about when we should schedule to do that? It strikes me that by a week from today, there will be the tweaking of the 2 main the 3 competing maps will be done. and we could schedule a discussion and a vote either for the 8th of November, or if you wanted some additional time later that week, or November 15th, 2 weeks from today, and then get the Senate map done and off the agenda in favor of focusing exclusively on the House map. Any ideas, Mr. Koch? You've been unusually silent.
Aren't you lucky? Well, I think Jeremy has worked basically with House districts, trying to put 5 of them together to create a Senate district. And I'm not sure of that, but I think that was his intention. So I don't know that we can, if we go with that, which is kind of an attractive idea to me, I don't think we can deal with the Senate before we finalize our recommendation for the House. That said, the other 2 maps looked reasonably good to me. Gene's map has only 3 member districts, and I think they could easily be split so that each of them ends up as a 2+1. And I've worked on that a little bit. That's Rutland, Washington, and Windsor. And then we would have no district greater than 2 members. I think that's certainly a goal we could have, but you know, I also tend to lean toward Jeremy's 30 single member districts. Jeremy has his hand up.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah, so if I can just point out that the Senate map that I sent to you all is not based on the House map, mainly because the House map had towns broken up in a lot of cases. The Senate map does not have any towns broken up. So in a similar way as the current map has, could have a House district crossing Senate districts, this would also have that. I was kind of approaching this independently. I could very well go back and look at the House map and draw the Senate districts based on that, but then that would require a whole bunch of reshuffling the moment that we start taking some feedback from the boards of civil authority, and then I have to redraw the whole map again. But collecting groups of 5 House districts, once we settle on a map, if we settle on a map that way, is not that big of a deal. I mean, I don't see that as a huge stretch. I can essentially just take the existing House map, make a copy, and just pull each of those districts into the Senate maps and do it that way too. That's easy. But this is a fresh look that's different from the House map.
Well, I did start to work along those lines a little bit, starting up north, and I will say that you do get some pretty odd-looking districts. I'm not sure if that can be avoided or not, but you know, of course, there are some odd-looking districts on the other maps too.
Jeremy, what does I haven't looked at yours with any diligence yet, but what does do you notice anything in the compactness, found of the compactness factor that concerned you at all?
In terms of like geographical compactness and sort of like weird dog legs and whatever. So, I mean, there are some, and they're really there. And I actually made some. I had a draft, and then I changed a couple things because it made the numbers better, but made the compactness less good. But it's really little bit here, a little bit there, where there might be one town that maybe. So I'm looking at, like, there's an Addison South district where I took New Haven from the district to the north. I'm sorry, New Haven from the district in the south, the Addison South, and gave it to the district to the north. It just made the numbers work out better. That said, I don't think there's anything super egregious. There's another one with the Lamoille district that does not have Johnson. Johnson goes to a district to the west, where you get a little bit of a dog leg again. But I mean, it's not great, but it's not that bad. I would say the other thing is what I called the Chittenden Donut District, which is really only bad if you count that it has the way that I have it mapped out. It has part of Lake Champlain, but so it's not really a donut. But otherwise, no. I mean, compactness looks okay.
So I see what you mean. I'm looking at it now, what you see, the Chittenden donut.
And the math for the compactness of that could be sorted pretty quickly by just taking the Chittenden Middle District, that that's Burlington essentially, and just extending that into the lake. But if you do that, then the donut has a bite out of it.
Continue with the metaphor. Well, one of the things that we could do, one possibility with the Senate map is that would be sort of it would be a jumping off point for it. Just at a high level, but it would illuminate the somewhat the path to the final Senate map, and that is if we took a straw vote of some kind on. With the Senate, we don't get feedback from the boards of civil authority. But on the Senate map, we could take a vote, show of hands, what have you, on the all single member Senate district versus not all single member Senate district map. Looking at the constitutional and statutory criteria and factors, and the revisiting the pros and cons that we teased out over the House map in the context of the Senate map, and see where the votes fall in terms of going with an all single member Senate district or not. And if we got to that juncture and took that vote, even if it were just a guiding vote and not a binding or final vote, that would tell us which map to focus on to get to the finish line. And that, it strikes me that is the kind of a vote that we could take before we knew the final contours of the House map. If that strategy seems like it'd be worth our while. Thoughts on that?
Given that we have only a bare quorum right now, missing 3 members of the board, I think we could do this. I'm just not sure that it would carry the same weight as if we had everybody.
I was not suggesting we do it today.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I say maybe a week from today, or it's at the next meeting. And then that would point us in a certain direction. So we don't have to make up our mind whether we're actually going to do it, but let's cogitate on that for the agenda for the next meeting. And anybody who wants to send anything around pro or con on that should probably do it just in terms of the debate, do it between now and next Monday.
Makes sense.
One thing back up to I've lost track of who sent which emails about which topics. But Chris mentioned the unorganized towns and gores in the Northeast Kingdom, and there's a fascinating little backstory to that. And suffice it to say that they have their own, I think this is true of unorganized towns and gores statewide, but there's a cluster of them up there, and they have their own form of statutory governance with a 3-member board of, what is it, Chris, overseers or governors?
Supervisors, I think.
Or no, governors is what it's called. They have a supervisor, but it's the board of governors.
Anyways, they all want to be in the same House district and presumably in the same Senate district to facilitate their voice. I think the largest of those is the unorganized town of Ferdinand, which has 16 residents. But we want to be, thoughtful about their concerns. Anything else on the Senate? If not, Mr. Cafferty, would you like a couple of minutes? If so, please unmute.
All right. My only concern is I'm happy that you are working on 1 and 2 member districts for the state Senate. I'd like to see the maps. Where would I get to see copies of the maps?
Well, I think that since we only the map that I prepared this summer has been posted for some time.
Mm-hmm.
The map that Jeremy Hansen talked about was shared with us earlier this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't yet been posted on the Apportionment Board's website, but will be.
Okay.
I think that the Jean Albert version, I don't know whether the Jean Albert version has been, if that's, Eric, can you tell me where that is?
I'm not sure, but maybe one of my other SOS folks does.
Yeah, there's my Senate trial run map of August 24th is there. And we'll get that, the most recent Jean Albert map posted for you, Mr. Cafferty. And then you can have more mapping to look at, then you'll know what to do with.
Looking at the last email from Jean, I'm not sure. Is there a map, or is it similar to the Excel spreadsheet from the house map that it's in a table?
It's probably the latter.
She had JPEGs of the district.
Eric, I have an email from Jean on Saturday with, looks like screenshots. But we can check in with her and see if she has something similar to what Jeremy sent along that we can post as soon as we have it. And she also sent a table sort of, I think, laying out the changes from the existing Senate districts.
Got it.
it doesn't do us spectators any good if it's just an Excel spreadsheet. I can't make any sense of it.
Sure. I think there are pictures to go along.
What we in part are running into is the conversion of a map into a full-blown maptitude map with the detail available at a very granular level is very time intensive, and we're not able to do that for every single draft map that is being discussed. I think that is for better or for worse, we just can't, we don't have the resources to do that.
I totally understand. I'm just saying, I've only been able to look at the district builder maps as they've popped up.
And at our next meeting, Jean will be with us to discuss what the differences that she has developed over the last couple of weeks with that map, which started out as a series of variations on the 2011 apportionment board map. Eric or Chris or Mia, do you have any updates that you haven't already raised with the apportionment board that you'd like to share at this point?
I don't have anything else, Tom. This is Chris. Eric or Mia?
I do not.
And I don't think we have anyone with us this morning from Legislative Council or the Center for Geographic Information. So that would take us to the next meeting date, which I'm willing to start increasing the frequency of our meetings, but I think we could wait until next Monday and see where things look, how things look then. Is there any other business that anyone on the board would like to take up at this time? If not, I would ask Rob if you would be willing to make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 25 meeting.
I will make such a motion.
And is someone willing to second the motion?
I wasn't there, but I'll second it.
Okay.
I was also not there, so I don't. Do you have enough votes to pass it?
I think I'll ask Mr. Roper to withdraw his motion and we'll roll this over till next Monday when we have a full team. Why don't we
I
do
withdraw
that?
my motion.
Okay, thanks. If there's no other business, and seeing no objection, we'll stand in adjournment. Until then, thanks for your efforts. Keep up the work. And Chris, could you give me a call in about 15 minutes?
I'll do that. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Everybody.